Hey guys, my name is Modi and you are welcome to Modi Speaks. Now, this is Omar Mahmood Fateh. His parents are both Somalian, meaning that he is a bona fide Somalian. But he was also born in America, and I guess that means that he is also an American. He is a member of the Minnesota Senate from the 62nd District, and he has had this position since January 5th, 2021. Currently, Mahmood Fateh is running for the position of the mayor of Minneapolis. Now, I consider today's video to be a very important presentation because I have realized that there is a lot Americans do not understand when it comes to kinship, ethnicity, and origin, and the way it relates to politics, especially for a bona fide African. Now, before we move on, I would like you to familiarize yourself a little with Mahmood, okay? Let us hear him talk to us for a little bit.
Someone keeps asking me, Omar, why aren't you doing more videos? As a state senator with a second full-time job and a kid on the way, I just haven't been able to find the time. I've also been fighting for you, passing things like tuition-free college for working-class families, rideshare protections for our Uber and Lyft drivers, and the legalization of fentanyl testing strips. But this summer, you're going to be seeing a lot more of me, because we deserve nice things in Minneapolis too. To make an affordable Minneapolis that works for everyone, we need a mayor that works as hard as you do. I'm ready to work hard too. 1. Build a Minneapolis that working people can afford to call home. 2. Protect our city from a hostile White House. And 3. Diversify our city's public safety response. By increasing the minimum wage to $20 by 2028 and passing rent stabilization to stop price gouging and incentivizing new construction, we can protect workers. Protecting all of our communities from Donald Trump means not letting MPD interact with ICE, whether it's for an immigration raid or not. Our residents deserve a mayor that will stand up to Donald Trump and say, no, not in our community. Did you know that the city's own data showed that 47% of calls to MPD can be diverted to non-police response? Cops aren't social workers. Investments in programs like these ensure that the appropriate response arrives when we call 911. And we can actually free up police resources to focus on violent crime that detracts from community safety. Oh, I'm sorry. It's my campaign managers again. They've been on my case all week about make more videos. I'll find the time tomorrow.
So that was his manifesto, okay? Protect their city from a hostile White House. Protecting the city from Donald Trump. Ignorant liberals are definitely going to fall for this. But also, let us take a listen to what he says to his Muslim Somalian community in America.
We should make dua for him and pray for him. I understand that our Somali communities are all connected to each other here in Minnesota and back home, and I ask for your support. There's always been a link between our community here as well as back home, and I'm running to bridge that gap and unite all of us and represent all of us, because when we succeed here, we succeed everywhere. And I'm hoping to do that just like Abdurazak, inshallah.
So he's running to protect the interests of the Somalian community, both in the United States and back home. So that means back in Somalia. So his goal is to infiltrate the United States of America in order to enrich the Somalians. That also reminds me about another Somalian in the United States Congress. Please watch out for the subtitles in the next clip.
dad badan ay soo wacay oo waxay leeyihiin ilhaan dawladda Mareykanka inaan la hadashid waaye dawladda Mareykanka maxay ka qabanaysaa jawaabteedu waxay ahayd dawladda Mareykanka waxay ka qabanaysaa wixii anaga aan dhahno dawladda Mareykanka qabo waa kalsoonidaas inaan isku qabno anaga Soomaali hadii aan nahay wadankan anaga ku nool wadankan wadankii aan anaga tax ka dhiibno waaye waa wadankii gabar idinka dhalatayne ee Congress ka fadhiso intii aniga aan Congress joogo wadanka Soomaaliya biyaheeda dad kaleeta iyo badeeda dad kale ma qaadanayaan wadanka Mareykankana kuma taageerayo dad kaleeta in anaga ayna dhacaan marka taas ka seexda reer Minnesota gabadhii Congress u dirsateen way idinka war haysaa sidaad idinka u dareemaysiin dantaas ay u dareemee.
So she too is in the United States Congress to protect the interests of Somalians from inside the United States system. Okay? That is wonderful. That is superb. Even the Prime Minister of Somalia confirmed this plan. Listen.
xildhibaan ilhaan cumar oo magaca Soomaaliya qalin dahab ah ku qortay qadiyadda ilhaan ma aha qadiyad ilhaan ma aha qadiyad Minnesota ma aha qadiyad reer Mareykan qadiyadda ilhaan waa qadiyad Soomaaliyeed guusha ilhaan waa guusha Soomaaliyeed waxayna noo ximbaarsan tahay macno weyn.
Now I want you to pay a closer attention to this next clip where she talks about her lineage, her heritage and all those other things.
aan wada dhisano anigu waan ahay gabar Mareykanka laga doortay oo Congress-ka Mareykanka ku jirto laakiin waxaan ahay gabar Soomaaliyeed gabar idinku jinsi ah gabar idinku af ah gabar idinku diin ah oo hadde qof iyadoo da'yar wadankeedii laga kaxeeyay wili xiise u qabto in maalin wadankeedii ay ku noolaato oo dadkeedii wax ay la wadaagto.
Now she says she is just an American migrant, but she is a pure Somali woman. Now this is not an attack on any Muslim, please, okay? This is not an attack of any sort. But I want you to ask yourself, why do Muslims who are traditionally conservative suddenly develop socialist ideologies when they find themselves in a position of power in the Western world? The Zohran Mandanis. You can look anywhere in the Western world. Take a look at the views and ideologies of the Muslim representatives in political offices, be it in Europe, be it in the UK, in America, in Germany, in France, in Italy, anywhere. They always have socialist, extremely liberal views. Why is that? And that is why I am making this video today. Forget about the fact that FBI reports reveal that there are 5 Somali Islamic terrorist gangs in Minneapolis alone. 5 gangs in one state alone. 45 Somalis have left to join the ranks of either the Somalia-based Islamic insurgency, Al-Shabaab, or the Iraq and Syria-based ISIS. But that is not my focus for today's video, okay? And also, if you are waiting for me to start rambling off political talking points like discussing his anti-American policies, then I'm sorry, you're not gonna hear that from me, okay? But rather, I am going to be telling you important secrets, which I don't think many Americans are aware of, but every African knows this. Now, the simple answer to the question I asked earlier is simply this: because they do not intrinsically care about these countries. Even if these guys were born in these Western countries, these Muslim guys, okay, even if they claim to be citizens of those Western countries in public, deep down, they do not actually think of these countries as their home. Their home is where their lineage is, where their language is, just like Ilhan Omar told you, where they originated from, where their religion is, where their norm is, okay? That is their home. Their home is where their culture is derived. So they don't necessarily care about these countries like the UK or the US or France or whatever have you, okay? They are more interested in telling these liberals what they want to hear in order to get the majority vote, win the election, enrich their pockets, and in some cases, enrich their ethnic communities. Now, to give you a little bit of context, there is a reason why 98% of Africa is underdeveloped as compared to other continents of the world. And for those of you who are going to go into the comment section and start saying that, how dare you say that Africa is not developed or that Africa is underdeveloped, yada, 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 okay? Yes, I'm going to say it because it is the truth. We are underdeveloped. We are under-industrialized, whatever you want to call it, okay? And that is the truth. When you consider the development that is going on in other parts of the world, then you should agree with me that Africa is indeed not developed, okay? And don't also blame this underdevelopment on colonialism or neo-colonialism. Even if you somehow manage to magically brainwash me into believing that white people are swooping in today into Africa and stealing all the natural resources, all our oil, all our gold, our bronze, our silver, our uranium, our cocoa, our diamonds, you name it. Even if you manage to magically convince me that these white people are stealing these resources from us forcefully without compensation, there are still 4 major resources needed for a country to develop that nobody can ever steal, not even the white man. And we still have it in Africa in abundance. Number 1 is land, okay? Nigeria has enough fertile, arable land that if Japan were to be able to be in possession of such amount of land, they will feed the entire world for ages. But this land is mostly going to waste in Nigeria. Another one is water, okay? Harnessing the hydroelectric power from the Akosombo Dam, the Dui Dam, and the Kwang Dam in Ghana alone can generate enough electricity to power the entire West Africa. But that is not happening. These water resources are not properly harnessed, thereby going to waste. How about manpower? Manpower, human beings. Only in Nigeria alone, we have 250 million people. Do you understand how powerful that can be in terms of manpower? And the fourth is the sun. In the West, you have some really harsh weather conditions. Some seasons like winter mean that you don't get to see the sun for months and months. But the same cannot be said for Africa. Africa is blessed with a very beautiful weather. In Nigeria, for example, we have 3 seasons, okay? The dry season, the rainy season, and the harmattan. And throughout these seasons, the sun shines as bright as you can ever imagine. But none of these African countries can harness the power of the sun to provide steady electricity. Solar energy is just wasting, and only the wealthy people in the society are tapping it to power their properties, but in a very subsistent scale, okay? So when you think that the white man is keeping Africa underdeveloped, please think again. Now, for any country to develop on a large scale, they must have one story. And what do I mean by this? I mean that they must have one culture, a culture that was created by them and not by outsiders, okay? Just stay with me, please. I am getting somewhere. Yeah. So if you look at places like China, Japan, Korea, or Russia, Finland, Poland, Czech Republic, okay, the reason these countries were able to develop and get to where they are today was because they share one lineage, they share one language, they share one culture. This includes countries like America and the UK and all these other countries, okay? Even though places like America, UK, and Canada are slowly losing this thing that makes them unique, that made them develop at the pace that they did, because they are introducing people of, you know, different tongues, different lineages, and different cultures to represent them in their political spaces. That is the most important thing, in their political spaces, okay? Now, when you think about Japan, what do Japanese speak? Japanese, right? They speak Japanese. Now, the Korean speaks Korean. The Chinese speak Chinese, or you can call it Mandarin, okay? Finland speaks Finnish. Czech Republic speaks Czech. Polish people speak Polish, okay? The Russian speaks Russia, and Germans speak German, and it continues that way for countries in the West that are developed. Now, when you come into Africa, I want to ask you, what language does a Nigerian speak? Nothing. Maybe English, but English is not ours. It did not originate from us. It was not given by us, by our own people. It was given to us by an outsider. There are over 500 different languages spoken in Nigeria and over 250 ethnic groups, okay? I am Igbo. I can only speak Igbo and Pidgin, which is a Creole language that was developed from English. There is no unifying language that Nigerians speak that is indigenous to Nigerians. And this is because we are not one people. We are not one lineage. An Hausa person that is an indigene of Nigeria living in the northern part of Nigeria does not have anything in common with me, who is a person living in the eastern part of Nigeria. We cannot communicate with each other because we don't understand each other's language. We do not share the same culture. If I was to be married to an Hausa man today, I would not know how to take care of him. I don't know what their dishes look like. I don't know the kind of food they eat. I don't know what their customs are. I cannot relate to anything they practice. Why? Because, again, we are not one people. And believe me, that will never change. And the same is true for every other African nation you can mention, be it Ghana, Cameroon, Sierra Leone, Botswana, wherever it is, okay? The same story is true for all these African countries. They are not the same people in each country. Now, this is why the leaders, those in political power, are very comfortable embezzling funds, stealing all the money, and doing nothing tangible to elevate the country. They know that this is their turn to enrich their generation unborn, okay? They know that this is their only chance to accumulate wealth for their children unborn. They don't really care if Nigeria goes to ruin, because Nigeria is not really valuable to them because it is not their lineage. What is theirs, what rightfully belongs to them is their ethnicity, that is Yoruba nation. What is theirs is their Igbo nation for people like me. What is theirs is their Hausa nation for people living in the north in Nigeria. And that was also why the Igbos gave their lives fighting for their own country, for their own freedom, for secession, fighting for Biafra, if you can remember the Biafra War. Now, Nigeria is the same as Ghana, Rwanda, Gambia, Burkina Faso, you name it. They have the same story. The people in power don't really care if China confiscates the entire country because they don't see these countries as a reflection of who they are, their lineage, their history, their culture. They know that inherently they are Ashanti people, they are Tutsi people, they are Yoruba people. Their ethnicity is their identity and not necessarily the so-called country, which was just an amalgamation of total strangers with different norms and beliefs and, culture, forcing them to come together to live together as one. So when you get one of them and make them the leader, they destroy the country, they steal, they embezzle funds, they claim they love the country, but deep down, they don't really have, this deep-seated love for that country because that country does not really represent who they are. It is not actually what they call their lineage. Now, this is in regards to Africans. The only time we Africans see ourselves as bona fide members of our country is when we live outside of our nation, outside of our country, okay? For instance, when I see a Yoruba or an Hausa person in America, I will embrace him and acknowledge that we are all Nigerians, okay? But when I see these same people in Nigeria, I see them as a threat. I make them understand that we are not the same and that Nigeria is a scam and that I want to be on my own. I want to be Biafra, okay? But if I am overseas, I care about Nigeria. I want my country to be prosperous because that is the only way I identify myself outside of, my country. But when I'm in Nigeria, I only care about my tribe, my lineage. Now, this is the same story that applies to all foreigners who somehow become citizens in the West and they acquire political positions in these Western nations, especially non-white people. Their allegiance lies with their people, not with the US. Their policies are mainly to favor the agenda of their people, and their people is not the people of the United States of America. Maybe when they are in their home country, they engage in tribalism and things like that. But right now, when they are in the West, they represent the interests of their people. That is, the interests of their country people, their lineage, their original people in their country, okay? And that is why these individuals from otherwise conservative backgrounds and cultures immediately become liberals and socialists in the West when they are in political power. That is why when I see these liberals in the United Kingdom or in Canada or in America or anywhere in the West, they are mostly non-white people. And even if they appear to be white, believe me, they are not indigenous to these countries where they are clamoring for these liberal ideologies to be implemented. They might be white, they might look white, but they are immigrants in these countries. And that is why they will have no qualms demanding that illegal aliens be allowed to stay in the country and that men can be women in that country and that kids should be allowed to cut off their private parts or their private organs in that country because they don't really care what happens to this country in the long run because it doesn't belong to them. They have somewhere else that they can go if something goes wrong with this country. I sincerely think that the United States of America should revise their constitution and take a closer look at who can be allowed to run for any political office in the country. Maybe make it in a way that only those whose parents or grandparents are natural born citizens or persons whose lineage is American down to their fourth or third generation. That means that this person has intrinsic love for America and has deep, unshakable, ties to America, knows nothing but America and American culture, as opposed to someone whose parents are fully foreign and just gave birth to him or her in America. This person has strong ties to his home country. His lineage is foreign. His language is also foreign. His culture is also foreign. I don't know if you guys understand what I'm trying to say, but this is something that the United States needs to look into. If you don't have strong lineage and generational ties to countries in Africa, then you are not going to smell any political position in any African nation. Africans understand what is at stake here, okay? And that is why They don't tolerate that kind of thing. This video is no attack on anyone. These are just my humble opinions, guys. So I would love to hear yours in the comment section below, but do so respectfully. Also, if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, honestly, I don't know what you're waiting for. Subscribe to my channel, like and share this video to keep people informed, and consider joining my membership or supporting the channel in any way that you can. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to catch you on the next one. For now, peace.